Welcome to the Table Talk Podcast. It's Kaleb. It is Tuesday morning, August the 5th.
It's Tuesday. I know that.
It is the 5th. It's August
Look
the 5th.
at you.
I know.
Lead pastor.
I know my days. I know the calendar. I know weeks and things. I'm here with David. David, how are you doing today on August the 5th?
I'm doing good. School year started for my kids yesterday.
Okay. Ooh, on a Monday.
Yeah, homeschool. We just start whenever we want.
Yeah.
Yesterday seemed like a good day for it. So they started with a pretty light day, and then their co-op started today.
Cool.
And so they're in it and going, and so I help them get up and get around and head out, and then came here and looking forward to a podcast and then a lunch meeting with you and with other people in the staff. It's going to be a good day.
Yeah, busy day. It's all good stuff. Yeah, we are wrapping up talking about the Reset series this week, and hope that it was something that was helpful for you. Really just felt like it was a good chance to, as school starts back, as schedules kind of get tighter and busier, just a chance to kind of reevaluate the pace that we're living at and the rhythm we're living at, and kind of what are the kind of core pieces that kind of make up the pace of our life. And so I hope that this series was helpful for you guys. I think it's been good for me just to kind of take a step back and reevaluate how I'm doing in all these areas. And I hope it was that way for some of you guys too. How did it land for you, David?
It was good. I was literally thinking about this morning as we were coming in. I was thinking about the sermons that we've gone through in the series and stuff. And I think God does this a lot of times when you're working. I preached on the rest one.
Yeah.
And it feels like he puts you to the test a little bit.
Yep.
And it feels like the past couple of weeks for me have been going, and a lot of ups and downs and emotional stuff. And it's just like, it's one of those weeks one of those couple weeks where it's like, yeah, God's seeing if I'm practicing literally practicing what I preached. And so it's been good for me, and it's been good for me to dig in and to think about, okay, am I making sure I'm taking this time? Am I giving stuff to God? Am I leaving it for Him and taking time to rest? Am I serving like I should be serving? Am I coming into this with a good servant's heart? Yeah. It's been really good for me, and I'm excited to talk about service today and about your sermon. How about you? How's it been for you?
Well, it's been the same way. I've kind of had the same stuff the last few weeks. Just kind of felt heavy in certain places, and I do think that God typically tends to teach us about the things we're teaching on, and so for me, sermons are. And just teaching series in general are just as much of a learning experience for me as it is for anybody else.
Next sermon series, I want to preach on how to handle millions of dollars.
You should. If you become exorbitantly wealthy, here's what you should do. I'm waiting for you to teach me, Lord. Yeah.
Just teach me. Just show me.
That's like worse than the prosperity gospel. Yeah, that's like the gaslighting prosperity gospel. Which probably exists somewhere.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sorry,
no, it's
I
okay.
interrupted you.
No, he does tend to do that, though. And it's like, there's been a couple moments, even throughout this series, where we've talked about prayer and serving and resting, where like I've had to be like, are you serious right now? Like we're doing this now? Yeah. And God's taught me something through it. So it has been it's been interesting, and I think God does tend to do that. I don't know. It's neat how that works. Sometimes it's annoying and frustrating. You're like, God, I don't want to learn that one right now. Let's save that lesson for later. Yeah. But He does tend to show up and supply us with what we need and teach us along the way.
Yeah. You spoke on service, serving this past Sunday. Do you want to kind of talk about your heart behind that? Yeah. And what you were hoping people walked away with? Yeah.
So we looked at, for the most part, in Matthew 20, where James and John's mom comes to Jesus and says, hey, when you come into your kingdom, will you place my sons at your right and at your left hand? Basically asking Jesus, hey, can you make my boys your first and second in command, basically after you. And it's just a total misunderstanding of what Jesus' kingdom is about. It's a total misunderstanding of what He came to do. It's a total misunderstanding of what greatness looks like. And Jesus kind of flips that on its head and says, you guys can't bear the cup I'm going to drink, first of all. Two, it's not up to me who sits at my right hand and my left, that's my Father. But 3, that's not even what this is about. He says, if you want to be great, you should become a servant. If you want to be first, you should become a slave. And then he says, for the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve. And so Jesus kind of in this picture like inverts kind of how we view greatness and how we view what matters. And so for Jesus, serving others is the most important thing. We ourselves take a back seat as we die to ourselves, as we take up our cross, as we lay down our life. And as he lays out in the greatest commandment, we love God with all we have and we love others as ourselves. So it's kind of become the 2 rallying cries as we follow Jesus. So we talked about how we serve a king who had all the power in the universe, who right now sits at God's right hand and reigns, and yet came to earth and took the form of a servant, Paul says in Philippians 2, and we're to follow that example. So that was kind of the crux of it. But we also talked about how there's freedom in that. Our culture typically tells us that if we want to find freedom, if we want to find happiness and peace, then we need to find ourselves, we need to take care of ourselves, we need to pour into ourselves, we need to love ourselves. And all of that in some ways is true. Jesus says to love your neighbor as you love yourself. You have to take care of yourself. But the difference is our culture would say we take care of ourselves only for our own benefit, whereas I believe the kingdom ethic says we care for ourselves so that we can, 1, learn to rest in the love God has for us, and 2, channel that love through us out to other people. We don't exist for ourselves, and we don't take care of ourselves for ourselves. We take care of ourselves so that we're ready and prepared to show up to take care of others and to serve others. So we kind of talked about the kind of tension there culturally. And I think that makes a huge difference, like, for maybe certain traditions or certain periods or whatever, maybe the church has been less emphasizing of caring for oneself. And almost the pendulum may have swung back a little too far the other way, where we say, well, absolutely, like your boundaries, your whatever, that's the most important thing. And I feel like the kingdom ethic is more of, yes, care for yourself, but yes, show up for other people. And if those 2 things come into conflict, sometimes you need to choose what's better for others over yourself. And that's what Jesus does, what he instructs the disciples to do. It's what Paul lays out in different places, that we consider others better than ourselves as we humble ourselves and lower ourselves. And so serving is not just about a particular activity or thing. It's about kind of the posture of the heart that we take toward other people. So it's not easy. It's not always the most convenient thing, but it is probably the most counterintuitive, but the most rewarding and freeing teaching of Jesus if we'll lean into it.
Yeah, I think it's a humbling yourself to do some of these things, because you may see things and go, man, that needs done. Mm-hmm. But to be willing to humble your position, to humble yourself, to be willing to do the things that other people don't want to, or they may see themselves. I think that's a struggle, because then am I less important? Am I less? And I look at you talking about Christ as the ultimate example, and it's like he's God, the creator of all things. Everything was created through him and by him, and he humbled himself way beyond what we could ever do in any act of service that we could do, to come and to serve and to and laid himself down. And it's like, what a beautiful picture of a willingness to humbly serve and to love and to care about people. And I think I think that story with the Sons of Thunder is a great example of it. And it's like, I think they had hearts for God, and I think they wanted to serve, and I think in some ways they thought they were, but also at the same time they were listening to this like, well, hey, he just said if I ask for anything, he'll give it to me. What if I ask to be like
the man?
And it's like, well, then you're losing the heart. You're losing the reason. You lose the reasoning behind the service. And so I think that's a great example of people who are wanting to serve and who are wanting to do the right things, but maybe losing a little bit of focus. And who a couple of times are humbled by Christ in hard ways, and then later on lay their lives down. At least church history tells us lay their lives down for the sake of the gospel.
Yeah, where Jesus tells them, you know, you don't know the cup I'm about to drink, you can't. But then he does tell them, you will indeed drink my cup. And it's like, you guys are going to lay your life down, which is exactly what happens. You know, they're all, John's the last one of the original gang to make it, but he dies in exile on Patmos. Yeah. They all, in some ways, lose their life, some violently, very violently, because they have decided to humble themselves and follow Jesus in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I look at that and go, okay, there is some humbling that we have to be willing to say, all right, God, I want to put others first. I'm gonna and knowing that God sees what you're doing and that He appreciates what you're doing, and I like that He loves a servant's heart and stuff like that. So I think it's really important. And I think serving is important, but I think, like you said, the heart behind it. Why are you doing this is just as important than actually doing it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that gets back, if you go back to Mary and Martha, right? If you look at that story, Martha was doing a lot of serving, but her heart was not in the right place.
Yeah.
And so when we kind of distill serving down to just like certain actions we take, it's like, well, that's half the story. The other half is like, why are we doing it? What's the posture of our heart? And do we find pride in our serving? Because I think Martha, part of it was she was just ticked that Mary wasn't helping out. I think the other part might have been there's a little bit of pride there. Like, look what I'm doing. Look how I'm taking care of this. Look how I'm being responsible. We can become prideful pretty quickly in the things that we do. And that's not where our sense of accomplishment should come from. Our sense of accomplishment should come through what Jesus has done in us and for us and what He is doing. And so there's a lot of layers to this, and it just goes so far beyond the actions we take. And I think that's where a lot of us sometimes get it wrong or shallow it out is we think, well, if I just do this thing, if I just show up and I just help at church or I open the door, or I make coffee, whatever, then I'm serving. And that is absolutely a way to serve. And trust me, we want you to do that because I think it's good important for you and good for the church. Yeah. But it can't stop there. Like, our hearts have to become servants' hearts. And that takes a little longer and a little more intention, but I think that's ultimately what Jesus calls us to.
Yeah, it's almost like the balance of faith and works.
Oh, it's almost like that's a thing.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like, you why are you doing these acts of service? Is it because, man, I just like hanging out with people or something like that? Or is it because, man, I would be good enough? And it has to be just like faith versus works. It's like you have to have come with a good a heart for it, for this serving, a desire to serve and to humble yourself. And out of that desire comes these good works. And it's getting back to that's a whole other deep conversation, but it's like, is it? I think sometimes God can use the reverse, like where you start to serve, and then out of that service, you start getting a heart for service, and you start being able to humble yourself and stuff. I think it can happen like that, just like I think if with your faith, if you start going to church, if you start reading your Bible and stuff like that, you may start that without any real desire to have a relationship with Christ. But I believe when you can start doing those things, and faith can come out of that. But it has to always flow. Then it needs to start flowing out of that rather than the opposite way. It can't be, well, my works make me do this. It has to be my faith and my heart for God, my desire to serve and to humble myself leads me to these areas. And because if it's not that, it's I just there's other motives. It's not as I think it's harder for God to bless it. Not that He can't, not that good things don't happen, but I think when it comes from a good place, a healthy place, a faithful place, a humble place, God can bless it even more. Yeah,
absolutely. And I do think, if you're hearing this and you go, well, my heart doesn't feel like a servant's heart right now. Well, I think what you just said is right. That's like going to the gym. The hardest part of going to the gym most days is just showing up, or for anything, right? You build discipline just by showing up. You build, I think, even desire, just by showing up. And so as you show up and as you continue to do that, I think God works in your heart and shapes you in that way. So, you're not going to be gung-ho on fire probably day one. And even when that does happen, there are times where, it happens in relationships, it happens with work, it happens with projects. Like, you're so excited in the beginning, and then as that kind of newness wears off, we lose the kind of drive to keep going. It's like, I think what God desires from us and calls us to is just kind of continued obedience and showing up to serve in different ways for different people. And so, don't beat yourself up if you're going, no, I just don't feel like I want to serve. Most of us probably don't feel like we want to serve most of the time because we're hardwired for selfishness. We're human beings. We're hardwired for survival, and that inherently means that we're selfish. We're having to go against our nature to show up and serve a lot of the time. But the good news is that Jesus has given us a new nature. And as we continually show up and learn how to live in that new nature, he changes us from the inside out. So it does take some time. Don't beat yourself up. Keep showing up. And I think God will do some really cool things as we continue to show up and wait for him to move.
Yep. I think we are a church that loves to serve. I think people serve in a lot of different areas at our church. Even on a Sunday morning, there's dozens.
Yeah.
Dozens of ways that you can.
The volunteer percentage, for our size church is amazing.
It is.
It's really amazing.
When you think about all the people on the worship team, when you think of the people running video and sound and those things, the children's ministry, the youth ministry, on a Sunday morning, we're having a really large amount of our church that's serving.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good heart, and I think it's comes from a good place, and I think people have grown from it. I've seen people grow, and I think once they jump into children's ministry or youth ministry or worship team, that those desires grow. And I think that's a cool place. So if that's something that you're not involved in, if there's a place that you want to serve on, or not just here on but like if there's people that want to serve at a place not even associated with the West, like we can help get you. Just let us know where you feel like God's leading you.
Yep.
Maybe coming out of this series, you have like I've rested, I've spent time with God, and I've come to this place where I want to serve Him in this way. I think we're all excited about that.
Absolutely.
And we would love to get you connected in, whether it's here or at another place that's doing the type of ministry you'd like to see.
Absolutely. Yep. I feel like our job description is Ephesians 4, equipping the saints for the work of ministry, and that God's prepared you to do some type of good work for his kingdom, to reveal it and bring people into it. And so our job is to help you do that.
Yeah.
So if that's something that's, we have a lot of opportunities here, but if there's something particular where you go, I feel called to this or this initiative or this type of outreach or justice or whatever, it's like, okay, well, let's get in the game. Let's help you figure out how to do that. Because I believe that invitation from God on your life is just as important as what, we're going on here. So let's make it happen. Yeah,
for sure. We're starting this new series, Asking for a Friend. And so people can still submit questions if they have questions about their faith, about their relationships, if they've got questions about things, part of like what do we believe here at West Towne, what does the Bible have to say about things, they can still submit those questions, and we'll start that series, a really cool one for people to be able to put and make an impact on the sermon. Some of the stuff we can talk about on the podcast, and maybe we could answer some of those on this podcast, or maybe last time we did some hot ones type videos. So I'd say people probably need to be on the lookout for different ways that we're answering these questions.
So there's 4 weeks in the series sermon wise, but there's that's also 4 weeks we can talk about things on the podcast, on separate videos, different things. So definitely keep submitting questions if you have them. We'll kick it off Sunday. We're actually going to spend 2 weeks talking about eternity. So there, like, a lot of the questions were centered like, what does eternity look like? Can I lose my salvation? All those kinds of questions. And so we're going to spend 2 weeks talking about salvation and resurrection and new creation and heaven and hell and all of that. So going to be fun. The one thing I will say is that, as you come to series like this and you come to big questions like this, it's really important to know that the Bible will mess with you. So if you don't want your theology messed with, don't go to the Bible, because there's so many new things to learn. And so I think a lot of times, particularly around eternity, we have some pretty tightly held beliefs that are maybe more Greek, more Western, than more biblical. And so I think what we're going to kind of spend some time doing Sunday is kind of clearing the air a little bit. Hey, what's actually biblical here? What is sort of Greek philosophy or Western philosophy that's kind of crept its way in? And that can be a little bit of a paradigm shift for people. So just be prepared for that.
But you're telling me angels aren't babies with bow and arrows?
Unfortunately, I am telling you that. Could it be? It sure could. But I don't know. If you read about those things in Scripture, they're pretty scary sounding. So,
doesn't sound like a baby with a bow and arrow and wings.
It could be. I hope there's at least one. Maybe in the like in the museum, the Smithsonian or something in heaven. Yeah, this is the precious moments angel. But yeah, so we'll talk about that, and I get excited about that stuff. I feel like I'm a person who I just love digging into the bigger questions and going, hey, here's some possible looks at this. I think a lot of things are a mystery, and that's a tension we have to hold in faith. We know that the end result, everything's going to be really, really, really good. The exact specifics of what that looks like, we're not given all that. But we are told Jesus has saved us. We're free from the power of sin and death, and we'll live forever with him. That's good enough news. One day we'll see the whole full picture. But for now, we're taking really good educated guesses at what the specifics of that looks like. So we'll get into that Sunday. We'll unpack some of those things. It'll be good. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. So they can still go on the website, submit questions if you got those. I know they would love to hear those and maybe answer some of them on here or things like that. So that's really exciting. I think the rest series was really good, and I think it was prepared me for a season of where it's been busy and a lot going on.
Yeah, so good. I'm glad. I've enjoyed it, and I'm excited about this next few weeks of asking for a friend.
Yeah, me too.
So, well, cool, guys. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us today. Thanks for spending your time with us, and we will see you guys right back here next week on the Table Talk Podcast.